Ever felt a spark that you just can't ignore? Camilla's story is one of forbidden attraction and undeniable chemistry. When her daughter's new husband starts making subtle moves, the tension builds to a point of no return. Dive into this gripping tale and see how far things can go when the stakes are high. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating stories. I've always been aware of a certain vulnerability I carry, one tied to strength, certainty, and the kind of confidence only a man has when he knows exactly what he wants and isn't afraid to take it. For years, I kept those urges at bay, only allowing myself to act on them when it felt safe, when nothing was at stake. Then my daughter married Alex. I remember meeting him for the first time, right there in my own living room. He had that easy confidence, a polished charm, and a smile that suggested he always knew more than he let on. Tall, broad, skin glowing under the warm lighting. He didn't have to try to take up space. He just did. My daughter, Emma, had met him in college. She'd called me once, breathless and full of excitement, gushing about him. How driven he was, how charming, how he made her feel like she was the center of everything. I told her I was happy for her, and I meant it. But nothing could have prepared me for how it would feel to stand in front of him myself, to see those sharp eyes linger on me, even if only for an extra second. It was barely noticeable to anyone else, but I felt it. That brief look started something I couldn't stop. The first real chance came when they came to visit after their honeymoon. It had only been about 3 months, still in that sweet, glowing phase where everything feels magical. Emma was radiant, constantly showing off her wedding ring. Alex played the perfect husband, kind, thoughtful, always saying the right thing. But when she wasn't paying attention, I caught him watching me. It was subtle at first, the way his eyes stayed on me as I passed, how his stance changed when I entered a room, a slight straightening of his back, a flicker of amusement in his eyes when he knew I'd noticed. Then, one night, I asked for a bit of help. We were in the kitchen after dinner. Emma was upstairs, probably chatting with her friends. I just need help moving a few things, I said. It won't take long. Alex looked at me, and for a second I wondered. Did he know? Did he understand what was actually happening? But then he smiled that smooth, calm smile. Of course, Camilla. Just tell me what you need. We drove out to a small place I owned just beyond the city limits. It wasn't much, just a quiet retreat, but it held a lot of memories. I kept telling myself we were just there to move boxes, that it was nothing more than that. But the air inside was thick from the moment we stepped in. After setting the last box down in the living room, Alex stretched his arms over his head, muscles shifting under his shirt. I let myself look a little longer than I should have before glancing away. This place is nice, he said, looking around. Didn't expect it to feel this comfortable. I smiled, walking over to the counter and pouring a glass of wine. I don't use it much anymore, but I like knowing it's here. He nodded, but didn't take his eyes off me. I took a slow sip, feeling his gaze linger, letting the silence grow heavier. Then I set the glass down and met his eyes. Want one? His mouth curved just a bit. Trying to get me drunk, Camilla? The way he said my name sent a slow thrill through me. I let out a small laugh, tilting my head. Would it work? His grin deepened, and the atmosphere shifted. He didn't step forward immediately, just stood there, watching, unreadable. Then he moved, once, then again, and suddenly he was right in front of me. I could feel the heat radiating off him, the solid presence of his body inches from mine. My breath caught as he reached out, fingers brushing my wrist, lightly tracing my skin. His voice dropped. You sure you want to do this? My heart pounded so hard I could barely think. Instead of answering, I reached up and touched his jaw, feeling the texture of his stubble, the warmth of his skin. His expression darkened, shifting into something deeper. Then he kissed me. It wasn't slow or hesitant. It was firm, sure, exactly how I'd imagined. His hands grabbed my waist, pulling me to him, his body solid and unshakable. I gasped against his mouth, my fingers exploring his shoulders, feeling the power under his shirt. I'd spent so long telling myself I wouldn't ever go this far, that I'd never let this happen. But in that moment, wrapped in his arms, his breath hot against my face, I didn't care. Some things just feel inevitable. This was one of them. Alex didn't hold back. His grip around me tightened, his mouth more insistent, more demanding. He kissed like a man with no doubts, like he'd known exactly where this night would end from the moment we stepped into the house. And I let him. His hands slid up my back, drawing me even closer, his warmth seeping through the fabric. He smelled like cedarwood and something else, something uniquely him. My fingers ran over the strong muscles in his arms, feeling the steady control behind every move. When he finally pulled back, his breathing was uneven. His eyes locked on mine. We shouldn't be doing this, he whispered, but his voice lacked any real certainty. I let out a soft laugh, tracing small circles across his chest with my fingers. Then stop. He shook his head, smiling just a bit. You know I won't. And I wouldn't either. I reached up, my nails lightly gliding along his jaw, tilting his head until our lips were barely apart. Then don't waste time talking. Alex let out a low sound as his arms tightened around me again. This kiss was rougher, deeper. His hands roamed, taking control. That night, we left the house without a word. We drove separately, made sure nothing looked suspicious. But when I got home, my body was still buzzing, my skin warm, my lips tingling, my heart racing. Emma was in the living room, curled up with her phone. She glanced up and smiled. Hey, Mom, how'd it go? I gave her a casual smile, slipping off my coat. Fine. Alex helped a lot. Her face lit up. He's the best, isn't he? I glanced toward the stairs just as Alex entered. His face was calm, maybe too calm. His body language relaxed. He met my eyes for the briefest moment before continuing upstairs. Emma barely noticed, but I did, because I could still feel his hands on me, and I knew it was far from over. The days ahead would only get more dangerous. I wasn't searching for him, but I didn't need to. Alex always found reasons to linger, to brush by me in the kitchen with a hand that barely skimmed the small of my back, to hold my eyes just a moment too long when Emma wasn't around. Each glance, every touch, felt like a match struck too close to kindling. Then one afternoon, the chance appeared again. Emma had stepped out to have lunch with a friend. Alex was supposed to be outside, helping my husband fix the fence. But when I went upstairs, the hallway was deserted, except for him. He stood by the guest room door, shirt clinging to his damp skin, a tool still in his grasp. He wasn't where he was meant to be. Instead, he was staring at me. I paused at the landing, throat tight. "Taking a break?" I asked. Alex leaned casually on the doorframe, smirking, something like that. The space between us buzzed with the same heavy tension that had lingered since that night at the cabin. I should have walked away. I didn't. I stepped closer instead, until barely any space separated us. "You're playing a risky game," I said. His smirk widened. "I like the burn." Then, slowly, he extended his hand, fingertips brushing my wrist with a touch that was light but sure. My breath caught, and the next thing I knew, the hallway was behind us. The guest room door closed, and nothing else mattered. That night, I lay in bed beside my sleeping husband, but my mind was elsewhere. I could still feel Alex, his hands, the weight of him, the way he said my name like he owned it, and I knew we'd only just started. Before long, slipping around unnoticed became a habit. Alex was smooth and self-assured. He never seemed nervous or doubtful, never faltered. That made it easy to keep going back to him. He moved through it all like someone who expected me to return, like he was certain I wouldn't stay away. And he was right. Every time I swore it would be the last, he'd look at me with those dark, familiar eyes, flash that slight smirk, and just like that, every reason I had to stop vanished. He made it too simple. It was a Friday evening when Emma wandered into the kitchen while I stirred dinner on the stove. She leaned on the counter, smiling. "Alex and I are going to a wedding tomorrow, so we'll probably be out most of the day." I nodded casually, giving the sauce another stir. "Oh? Who's getting married?" She waved a hand. "One of his old college buddies. Should be fun." Then she grinned. He wasn't excited about it at first, but I talked him into it. I gave a soft laugh, reaching for a glass from the cupboard, using the task to settle my thoughts. "Guys never are," I said. Emma sighed. "Overly dramatic, right? But at least he listens. He's really such a great guy." My hand tightened around the glass. I could have just agreed, nodded, moved on, but instead I heard myself say, "Yeah, he is." Emma lit up, oblivious. "Anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up. We might stay out late, maybe even crash at a hotel." A wave of heat coiled in my stomach. A whole night without her. A night with Alex. I took a slow sip of water, keeping my face unreadable. "That sounds nice. You two should enjoy yourselves." Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at the screen. "Speak of the devil," she said with a grin, tapping out a reply. She set the phone down again, turning toward me. By the way, I saw you and Alex talking in the hall the other day. What was that about? My hand froze around the glass. Which time? She shrugged. Not sure. I was coming in from outside and saw you two by the guest room. You looked serious. I forced a little smile. Oh, that? Nothing big. Emma narrowed her eyes slightly. You sure? I turned back to the stove, stirring with an easy look. He was just saying he might take on more hours. Something about a new job. Emma groaned. He works too much. I keep telling him to slow down, but he never does. I smiled faintly. No, he doesn't. Because I knew how unyielding Alex could be, how focused, how driven, and I knew if I messaged him right now and asked to meet, he'd drop everything. That night, I stood in my bedroom, slipping out of my dress, soft lamplight casting shadows across the walls. My husband was already out cold, his breathing deep and even. I moved to the window, the silk of my robe sliding over my skin, my fingers toying with the fabric. Then, slowly, I picked up my phone. Me. She told me about the wedding. Within seconds, my screen glowed with his reply. Alex, means we've got the night. My breath caught. Me. Come over after she leaves. A pause. Alex was planning to anyway. I swallowed hard, my body already anticipating him, already needing him, because Alex never made me wait, and he never disappointed. The next evening, once Emma left, the house fell into stillness. I lit a few candles, poured a glass of wine, and waited. Then, right at 9:15, the front door opened. I didn't look right away. I let him come to me. Alex stepped into the living room, wearing dark jeans and a fitted t-shirt that hugged his chest just right. His presence immediately filled the space, thickening the air around him. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. I looked at him over the rim of my wine glass, lips curving. You're late. Alex smirked, his gaze drifting over me, at the silk robe barely hiding my skin, the way I sat, legs crossed, waiting. I don't hurry for anyone, he said, voice smooth and slow. You should know that by now. My pulse sped up. He was right. Alex lived by his own rhythm, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. He didn't wait for permission. He reached out, grabbed my wrist with steady strength, and pulled me to my feet like it was the easiest thing in the world. His eyes stayed locked on mine, dark and unreadable, full of something bold. Come with me, he said, his voice rough. I breathed out slowly, heartbeat pounding. A crooked grin touched his lips. You'll see. I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't have to. I never had to chase after Alex. I just went along. The night was cool, the street still, as we stepped outside. His car waited by the sidewalk, sleek and black, low-slung and built for speed, just like him. He held the passenger door open, watching me. I paused, eyes drifting toward the house. Are we really going? His look darkened slightly. You nervous? I wasn't. That was the real issue. I slid into the seat, the leather cool against my legs. He shut the door and walked around slowly before getting in. Once he did, the air seemed denser, the space smaller, thick with unspoken tension. The car started with a low growl that sent a tremble through me. One hand rested on the wheel, the other on the shifter, his arm muscles tightening as he shifted into gear. Without speaking, he pulled away.
We rode in silence, the city lights streaking past the windows, the engine's soft purr, the only sound. My heartbeat synced with the tire's rhythm, calm, strong, charged. He drove the way he did everything, one hand steady on the wheel, his posture easy, his movement smooth. He didn't check mirrors obsessively or fidget. He knew the route, and I knew exactly what I'd signed up for.
I let my hand settle in my lap, fingertips brushing the silk of my robe. The hem had crept up, showing a hint of my leg. Alex saw it. His eyes dropped for a moment, then his grip on the wheel tightened before he looked forward again. A faint smile touched my lips. I leaned back, letting the silence grow, letting him sit in it. Then I let my fingers drift a little further up. Alex breathed out through his nose, his jaw clenched. "Camilla," he said, voice low and edged. I raised an eyebrow. "What?" His knuckles turned pale on the wheel. "You know what?" I smiled faintly, my fingers sketching lazy circles on my thigh. "Maybe." He let out a low noise, half laugh, half growl, restrained but amused. "You really enjoy testing limits, don't you?" I tilted my head, watching him, my gaze taking in the angles of his face, the cut of his jaw, the smooth skin stretched over cheekbones, the way he swallowed hard. "You're the one who asked me to come," I reminded him. His lips lifted just barely. "And you didn't hesitate." "No," I said softly. "I didn't." Suddenly, he turned sharply, veering into a side road hidden from view. The tires crunched against gravel as he parked and killed the engine. Stillness fell, the only sounds our breathing and the faint city hum in the background. Alex turned toward me, movement slow and sure. "Still feel like pushing me?" His voice dropped, rough and thick with something raw. I met his stare, heart pounding. "Maybe." He gave a short, dark laugh, shaking his head. Then, without warning, his hand closed around my thigh, firm and unshaking. I gasped, heat shooting through me, skin alive under his grip. "You don't stop, Camilla," he said, voice tight. I swallowed hard, my breath trembling. "So what are you going to do about it?" His eyes darkened. Then he tugged me toward him, like the barrier between us didn't exist. He was strong, certain, and he moved with purpose. His hands caught my waist, lifted me without effort, settling me on him. I planted my palms on his shoulders, my heartbeat racing. He smirked, fingers digging in, eyes locked on mine. "You're something else." I let out a shaky laugh, trailing my fingers across his chest. "You can handle it." His smirk widened. "Oh, I can more than handle it." And with that same quiet confidence, he took what he wanted. By the time he turned back onto the street, my skin was still buzzing, my breathing uneven, every nerve lit up from his hands, his mouth, the heat between us. He didn't speak as he drove, and he didn't have to. Every message had already been sent. I knew we weren't finished. I was too far gone, and Alex wasn't the type to let go. The rest of the ride passed in silence, but the air was heavy with what had just happened. My body still hummed from his touch, from the way he claimed me like I was his. I'd never met a man like him, so young yet so sure, so calm, so focused on getting what he wanted. I shifted in my seat, the leather cool under my legs, heightening the heat still burning through me. My dress was creased, my hair slightly tousled. I glanced at him, his mouth curled into a slow, knowing grin. He didn't speak, didn't need to. He knew exactly what he'd done. He knew I'd return. That night, I didn't go to bed right away. I stood in the bathroom, hands gripping the sink, staring at my reflection. My lips were swollen, my skin warm, my body still tingling. I should have felt guilty. I should have been scared of what I had done, of what I was still doing. But all I felt was hunger. No one had ever made me feel what Alex did, and I wasn't ready to give that up. The following days dragged. I couldn't stop thinking about him. How he moved, how he smelled, how his hands had held me like he owned every inch. And the worst part? I knew he was thinking about it too. I saw it in how he looked at me when Emma wasn't paying attention, how his fingers brushed mine just a little too long when passing something, how his mouth twitched when I turned away. It was a game, and I was clearly losing. The next time we were alone, it wasn't planned. I had run to the store one evening, picking up things for dinner just before they closed. As I walked into the lot, I saw him leaning against his car, arms folded, waiting. My stomach flipped, heat rushing low in my belly. He wore a tight black t-shirt, muscles shifting with every small move, his skin glowing beneath the streetlight's flicker. I swallowed hard, my fingers gripping the shopping bag tightly. "What are you doing here?" His grin was slow and lazy. "Looking for you." My breath caught in my throat. Alex ... He pushed off the car, closing the gap between us with just a few deliberate steps. His presence was overwhelming, consuming, and when he reached for me, my body reacted before my mind had time to catch up. His fingers traced my jaw, tilting my head back, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I don't like waiting," he whispered, his voice deep and smooth, filled with something dark and knowing. My pulse quickened. "Neither do I." His grin grew wider. "Then get in the car." As soon as we were inside, Alex snatched the bag from my hands, tossing it carelessly into the back seat before pulling me into his lap. The car was spacious, yet at that moment it felt too small, too cramped with the heat that buzzed between us. His hands dug into my thighs, fingers pressing into my skin, his strength undeniable. I gasped as he pulled me closer, his body solid beneath me, his presence overwhelming. Alex tilted his head, his dark eyes locking onto mine, daring me to look away. "You're obsessed with me," he muttered. I swallowed, my breath shallow. "You're cocky." He chuckled low and rough. "No, I'm right." Then he kissed me. It was hard, deep, all-consuming, taking my breath away. His fingers gripped my hips, pulling me closer, his warmth sinking into my skin. I had never felt so small, so powerless, so completely owned. By the time I stumbled into my house later that night, my body was weak, my breath still uneven, my skin marked with invisible traces I could feel, but no one else could see. I shut the door behind me, leaning against it, closing my eyes. I had crossed a line, and there was no going back now. The worst part? I didn't want to. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, pretending everything was normal. Emma walked in, stretching and yawning, completely oblivious to the storm inside me. I forced a smile. "Good morning." She smiled back and grabbed a cup. "Morning. You were up late last night." My pulse spiked, but I kept my expression calm. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She nodded, not giving it a second thought. Alex was out late too. I froze for a moment, my breath catching, my body going rigid, but I forced myself to stay composed, lifting my cup to my lips. "Oh," I said, my voice smooth and controlled. Emma shrugged. "Yeah, he got home after I did." I didn't ask where he was. Probably just out with the guys. I smiled, trying to seem casual. Probably. But under the table, my fingers gripped the cup tighter, my heartbeat pounding in my chest, because I knew exactly where Alex had been the night before.